looking gorgeous as always. You never disappoint.
I think it was just so popular I couldn't get in. I wasn't at the top of the waiting list.
It could be. Oh, I'm glad you made it. How are you, lovely? You all right?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Always a pleasure to speak with you too. Sadly not in person this time, but hopefully soon we can catch up again.
Definitely.
So are you in Dublin at the moment?
I am in Dublin. We did a little bit of a holiday on a cruise and things like that. But yeah, back in Ireland now. So
that's so lovely. Yeah. Where did you go on the cruise?
We went around the Caribbean. We went to 5 islands. Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh my goodness.
Really great.
What was the weather like? It must have been amazing.
It was amazing. And we went to some islands that had recovered from Hurricane like Maria years ago and stuff. So it was really interesting. As much as it was beautiful, it was like really interesting culture. And we went to like a rum factory and different things. So yeah, it was, and the architecture was really interesting, you know, to see the different styles over there. So yeah, it was great.
No, I think especially for us interiors and property professionals, we do love to see that side of things as well. Obviously the whole cultural and food and people is always super exciting, but we can't help but notice what they do architecturally speaking, or seeing the interiors of the cruise ship or hotels. It's always exciting, isn't it? It's always very inspiring as well.
Yeah, I feel very inspired coming back. So yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you so much for joining. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, this is the lovely Natasha Rocca Devine, and she is in the cover of the Homestaging magazine as well, with one of a very, I think 2 actually, right, Natasha, projects that you've done for developers, show apartments and such. So so exciting. So yeah, those of you that still don't have the magazine, by all means do and get it. You can find it on the link in our bio. But before we jump in and talk about show apartments and interior design and islands and maybe holiday tips,
anything you want.
Anything, we can cover everything. I was thinking, Natasha, I obviously know you very well, and people at the HSA do know about you because you're always featuring you and your work, and everyone in Ireland seems to know who you are as well. You're such a reference in what you do. But maybe those that might be watching later or might join in afterwards, they might not know that much about you. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and NRD Interiors, anything we'd like to share. So maybe let's start from there, and then we can see how we go.
Yeah, I'll keep it as short as I can. Long story short, I've always been very creative. I'm Irish Italian, and my family were tilers. They imported tiles, so they had Rocca tiles. So in Ireland, that name will be quite well known in the industry of interiors. And I always loved writing and designing, and kind of wavered between the 2. So I studied journalism, a master's, and then I came to London and went to KLC in Chelsea Design Harbour and studied interior design and architecture. And then over the years, did projects in London, Dublin, Milan, Boston. And then I got a visa to America. So I went and worked in LA, and I taught myself real estate. So I got a license, and that's where I fell in love with staging, which is like, well, I don't want to say the heart of it, but staging is huge in LA, you know, image is everything. So I worked with some of the best staging companies in the world over there while I was helping sell properties. And then eventually I decided now or never, and came back to Ireland and London to set up my own staging consultancy. And I specialize in staging to sell and staging to rent. My favorite projects are show homes because, you know, as you know yourself, it's so exciting. It's a blank canvas. It's really exciting. It's like doing, for people who don't know, it's like doing kind of Fashion Week versus doing, you know, a private client. That's how I would compare it.
That's a great comparison.
Yeah. So, you know, private clients are fun to style, but doing Fashion Week is the best. So that's how I would say the comparison.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. And then over the years, I've worked between Dublin and London, and my partner has been working in London, so I've been in London a lot. I had a baby girl who's 1 on Friday. So yeah,
that's 1 already. Oh
I know, Freya. Yeah, so just trying to navigate that. And at the moment, during my maternity leave, I wrote a book, a kind of a design consultancy book, which does interior design as well, which I'll hopefully release in the next year. So Yeah, so that's it really. And as like a mom, and as everyone who's watching I'm sure knows, we've gone through pandemics, and when you're creative you have to, like, Paloma is incredible and she's so diverse, and you know, you just like can just snap and just, you know, multitask and do so many different things. But you know, it is challenging now that, you know, the industry's changed a lot in Ireland, not everyone's staging as much, so you have to diversify in everything you do. I've done more consultancy since the pandemic, and you know, it's just naturally going to evolve. So that's why the book for me was just something I could do in the interim. But you know, I think if you can continue in your practice and have a business, brilliant. But I think in anything creative, it's always evolving, which is exciting. But also you have to be resilient and push through. So yeah, it's been up and down, but I think the same for everyone, you know, in the last few years.
But that's really impressive. I do want to talk about the book a little bit more, but just a quick
Yeah,
question before
no
I forget. What is the book about? Is it more interior design? Is it staging? Is being a mom
Yeah,
while doing
it's
interior
just a
design
guide.
projects?
Yeah, so to answer your question, it's just a guide to help you. I think I love life coaching, and I love which, you know, I feel like you're brilliant at. And
Yeah.
actually I think I like to guide as a designer and a staging specialist. I'm very artistic, so I like to bring out the designer in everyone, and that's what it's about, to bring out their own design, you know, your own designer in you,
Yeah.
whether it's staging your property for rental, or for styling it for, you know, a mansion, you know, to make lots of money, or if you're trying to do interior design projects. And I think when you can see on Instagram, particularly during the pandemic, people are so talented. I'm learning so much from people, and I think we can all learn from each other. So it takes that kind of competitive edge away, and it's like we rise by lifting others is one of my favorite quotes. So I think if we can all help each other, I have maybe more specialist skills and practical skills. I've made a lot of mistakes, you know, financially and practically. So I want to help people avoid that. So it's really a guide, like a journal, to help people in design and staging and kind of styling as well.
I can't wait to read this. So when is it going to be out? This year?
Yeah, it's in the talks of publishers at the moment, so hopefully in the next year. But you know, and if not, I'll just self-publish. You know, either way, I'm gonna have it out. Yeah, because
I know you just get things done.
That's I don't like to wait around too long.
I know very well. Talking about waiting around too long, I think that's a perfect hook for my next question. Actually, staging in Ireland is obviously not as popular as it is in the UK, or let alone if you were to compare with LA and the things you must have seen in LA when you were working there. I mean, you can't even compare. I think it's completely two different things entirely. But maybe you can enlighten us about what is the staging market like in Ireland at the moment, because I think you were one of the pioneers in doing this. But you started off with interior design, and then you decided to add staging to your offering. Was it the other way around? Yeah. So
I think I always loved interior design, but I wanted to always have a small practice. You know, everyone has different visions, and because I'm so creative, I like to have a say in what I do. And you know, hiring, so I'm so impressed by big companies, and you know, of course you'd love that, you know, to have more of a, you know, a big team, and you get more flexibility in your time off and everything. But I've always wanted to keep my company smaller, so mine evolved from consulting into design. So I actually went the other way. Mine went from staging, and then people would see my show homes and hire me for interior design. Even in my my master's in KLC, I always like won the awards for creative, but never.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wasn't the best at, you know, the other side of it. So that's, you know, everyone has different strengths, and that's another thing, is to know your strength. In Ireland, I would say there is a strong market. I think but it's primarily with real estate, you know, with agents. We call them estate agents here. So I think there's a market there, and then there's always show homes. So there's different levels, you know, there's student flats, and then there's, you know, obviously huge show homes. But Irish people are, they're very strong-willed, and I think, you know, I've been so impressed with people, you know, even fashion stylists, you know, getting them into their own DIY and things like that over the pandemic, and everyone has become so creative. I think a lot of people are doing styling and that kind of thing themselves. It's becoming very trendy here. There's definitely a market for it. The last year or two, I've been quite busy. I've launched candles and had a baby and things like that. But I do think now I'm kind of moving back into the industry. I work direct one-on-one with estate agents, but there's definitely a market here. Nothing to the scale of LA. I mean, I was selling
Yeah. Oh gosh.
15,
Yeah.
$20 million homes over there. And obviously smaller homes as well,
Yeah.
for like $1 million
Yeah,
or
but that
less.
staging is the norm. You don't necessarily have to explain it to people,
No,
especially
not
agents,
at
or as
all.
they say over there, the realtors. You don't have to tell them what it is or try to persuade them that they should be doing that. Whereas I think Ireland, very similarly to the UK, there are some
You
people
have to,
that
yeah.
still don't really know, and you still need to, well, but if you do stage, you're going to be preparing for the market, you're going to increase your chances of selling faster at a higher price, etc. So is that the case in Ireland as well? Do you
Yeah,
still
it's
need
very
to,
similar.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think I did a TV show a few years back for RT Find Me a Home. It would be the equivalent of BBC
yeah,
here. And I think my property went up 11%. And I got the project a few days before, and I had like 3 or 4 days to do the project. And I think it just showed people, the reality, the business model for that. And I think it was always there within the estate agents, but it showed the public. And there's been more shows and, things online since. So I think people do understand it now, and definitely it's become a huge market. But I do always think you have to convince. It's not just there. Whereas when I was an estate agent and I worked with staging companies myself, there was a budget always,
yeah,
especially for larger homes, there was always a budget. So you would have like your estate agent budget, and then you would have your staging budget. It was a no-brainer.
yeah,
It was always
yeah.
there. Whereas here, you have to pitch yourself. And I think you have to have a profile. Like it's the same as the UK. I think you have to have a brand name or an association with or contacts. It's very much
Mm-hmm.
contact based here.
Yeah,
Whereas in LA, if you were just put yourself into a retainer, or you could just get chosen, and then it spirals. There's always a
yeah,
market there. So it is tricky in that way. And I do think from the pandemic, obviously, because we had a virus, we couldn't stage property. So I did a few fit outs. You weren't allowed to leave
yeah,
accessories. So I
yeah.
think people have realized actually you can do less. So that's
Mm,
a negative, but I think
yeah,
there's always going to be, if I think like anything, if you want something, you'll make it happen. You just have to be a bit more pushy, or a bit more like networking in a different way, because there's not as many events.
yeah,
But there's definitely a market, there's always
yeah,
going to be, if you want it.
yeah, yeah. I think, well, it's almost unfair, obviously, to compare UK, Ireland to the States, as they've
Yeah.
been doing this for 50 years, and for us, it's a
Yeah.
lot more recent than that. But
Yeah.
it's good to see that we are all professionals that do staging are working towards educating industry partners and potential clients, and just the
Yeah.
public in general,
Absolutely.
about what it is, because that's part of the process. And hopefully, uh, 10 years from now, it will be in a much different position. I think
Yeah.
we're already in a better position than we were, say, 2 years ago, with more people knowing what staging is. But yeah, it's a process, isn't it? But you've got quite a good relationship with lots of developers and, say, agents, so you do have your staging pipeline as such, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm blessed in that way. And I think
Yeah,
I also am blessed to work with brands like Usk and Harvey Norman and
yeah,
Michael Murphy. They're Irish brands. And then,
yeah,
I work with loads of Ariana B, like small boutiques. And, I always try to
yeah,
incorporate sustainable design and Irish design naturally.
yeah,
Just to support local, because I'm small and
yeah,
local, as well.
yeah, yeah,
It's something really important for me. But yeah, I think that's really important, is to have the connections to brands and the connection to developers and things like that, and also just to know your limits. Like when I started off, I had about 12 people working for me.
yeah.
I had staff. I had like 5
Oh
warehouses
wow.
of furniture. Yeah, and I can upscale really fast and downscale and
Yeah.
things like that. And I work with specialists, for insurance
Mm.
reasons, versus having a big team who work for me every
Mm-hmm.
day. And I have assistants and people who work freelance and part time. And I have
Okay.
a lot of people always offering to work, but I realize I take the responsibility of someone, for insurance and
Mm-hmm.
different and training. I think there's a lot of things you learn on the way, and it's just to know
Yeah.
what kind of market you want to be, what size,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
much money you make, how much time do you want to have for your
Yeah.
family. All of these different things are really important in any creative business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think, that's, I think, really important when you start out, and everyone makes some mistakes, I'm sure,
Yeah.
whatever area that is. But yeah, I think I'm learning what I want. And I think, I prefer small and
Yeah.
boutique and, kind of
Yeah.
one-on-one smaller
And that's
teams.
the
And that,
thing. So many people think that being successful is being massive and growing and scaling, but not everyone wants that. Not that that doesn't mean success for everyone. So I think it's about finding what works for you, what makes you fulfilled, and then obviously apply the business model and the right business plan for you to achieve that.
yeah,
So
exactly. That's a really
you've been
important
both
point.
ends, right? And you've decided, yeah, I actually don't want something massive. For me, it's best to work this way, and so be it. And it's great, and you're smashing it.
Yeah, and well, thank you so much, as are you. But yeah, I think, and I also have diversified and did candles, and I'm writing a book and things like that, or I've written a book. But everyone
Yeah,
has their own different journey, and I think it's just really like no job is perfect, and everything requires hard work and networking
yeah,
and pushing yourself. But I think you have to get to a point where you are like, at a certain point, a few years in, that you're happy with the style of
yeah,
your business, and you're making enough money to live and things like that. So all of that's really important, and I think that's success to me, and I think that's something you learn as you get older. Not that I'm older and think, but
yeah,
you do learn that when you're younger. You kind of love
yeah,
the
yeah,
excitement of anything, and just being involved with things is good enough on its own. But now I have to think of
yeah,
my family. I'm a mother now, and different
yeah.
things.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, just practical stuff as well. But it's all about balance, and I think you
yeah.
understand that.
100%. And I think, yeah, as you say, as you get a little bit older, I think your energy levels drop and your focus and your direction need to increase, basically. So you need to really know where you're going, and make sure that all your efforts are really focused on what you really want and what really makes you happy, and resonates with what you're going for. So yeah, makes complete sense. Um, Natasha, because you do have these two sides of your business, obviously the staging side, and now the interior design side is quite strong as well via those clients that really like your show apartments. I bet you must have come across several clients that didn't really know the difference between interior design and staging, and they thought it was all one thing, and sometimes asking you for one thing but actually meaning the other thing. Have you ever had anything like that? You always have
Yes,
to
a lot.
explain it to
Yeah.
them? Yeah.
Or a lot of the time, what happens is, that's a really good example of kind of challenges you come up against, and it seems very straightforward. So they would see your show home, and they'd say, "Oh, I would like this and this, the flooring or the painting," and then you would be taken on, and they would add 20 things onto it, and
Yeah.
expect kind of the budget to be small, and the reality to be done really fast, and not understanding that there's a lot of people involved. Even if you have your own team for everything, you might be involved in other projects as well. So I think, yeah, you have to be really careful, and that's something I've taken on, is to do
Yeah.
client questionnaires and make sure you have legal documents. And as I said, I hire specialists versus my own painters and things. It depends the size and scale of the project, but
Yeah.
if you have a painting company that you work with, who are my team, they have their own insurance,
Yeah.
and if naturally things, there's mistakes made or someone's not happy, they have to come back and fix that or snag things. So I do think it's really important to be so specific at the beginning, and I
Yeah.
think that's a confidence thing. I don't know if you agree, but when you start out, you're like, yeah, no problem, and I'm
Yeah, I'll
like,
do it.
I can
Yeah.
get everything done, and you do, and then you think you're making a great salary on the project, but by the end you've paid out a lot, or your time is just completely burnt out and you've missed out. That's another thing to consider, the missing out on something else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's another decision to make. Do I want to take on this client for 6 months versus doing 2 or 3 smaller staging projects? And that's a personality decision or a
Mm-hmm.
business decision. So all of these things are really important to consider. And I think just having honest conversations, and I think templates and questionnaires and things for clients is really important.
Yeah.
It just sounds so simple, but you just get excited, especially if you get on with the client or it's an incredible opportunity. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've been there. But yeah, I just feel like all of these things are just lessons learned as you go. I'm sure you would
Yeah.
agree. Just to at the
Yeah. And
beginning,
I think the
planning questions.
forms are great. Great. It's a great idea. Great tools for you to filter things through, for you to be very specific without being annoying and having to personally
Yeah,
ask lots of questions. And it also brings attention even to the client themselves, that there are certain things that you are going to be taking into account, and that is one type of project, that other thing is another type of project, and everything has a different scope, a different cost. So it really helps you to understand the project, but also opens the door for you to have those conversations about, actually, no, that is not included. So
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
so important, and it's something I think anyone who's in a creative, anyone in any company, I suppose, but particularly creative, is to set that boundary and that clear line, those clear lines at the beginning, of what it is you offer, what you get for that, and it can seem very, I understand what you're saying, and
yeah,
it's something I found very difficult, is to put in specifics of how many hours or expectation of
yeah,
timeline, different things, that have are really, really important, because you literally can get yourself into a lawsuit. See, I've worked in LA, so I think having worked in America, like I come in with like edgy. I'm like, I come in
everything
already
can
thinking
become a
I don't want to be
lawsuit,
sued.
right?
But I'm like, unfortunately, you like, no matter what, I think that's like, as you said, even on a visual point of view, some people think they want someone to help, but then they actually have their own vision and they can be disappointed visually. So I think,
Hmm.
like, if they if they have an idea, or else it can be too dramatic for them. So all of these things, down to like what color schemes, the
Yeah,
timelines, budgets, the expectation of, like, do you want everything painted, or do you just want things like
yeah,
touched up? Like, it sounds so simple, but I think questionnaires should be important. And then just having legal documents, or having a business manager or a lawyer look over things, is just, I think, really important. It sounds so
yeah,
serious, but I think it's really, really important, because things, like, you can't, especially with your own team, you can't rely on people. People make mistakes, and then if something goes wrong, it's all on your name. So it's really
hmm,
important to have a foundation in place, for mistakes, or for issues, or if there's a complaint or things like that as well, because
yeah,
we're all different. Your version of like excellence might be different to mine,
hmm,
and
yeah,
so all of these things I think are really important to kind of clear at the beginning. But at the end of the day, you have to do it in a very flowery, fun kind of kind of
yes,
exciting way, that's like in a lovely brochure, or
yeah.
in a kind of snazzy way, that it's not like sending someone 50 pages of like document to read. No one really wants that. It's
Yeah,
not
no,
that,
it
it's
can't
not
come
that fun.
across as aggressive or pessimistic or anything like that. It has to be light and just like friendly and informative and very professional. But yeah, you're right. We need to
Yeah.
hope for the best and prepare for the worst, right? Well, I think I lost you for a second. No, you're back. Um, yeah, it's one of those things that as business owners we obviously do have to think, regardless of what business it is. But I think with stage and interior design, it's very important, because we're dealing with so many different people when it comes to one project, that we really need to be mindful of those little things. Um, Natasha, another question I've got for you about show apartments. I just love talking about show apartments with you, because all the projects that I've seen that you've done are just so unique, and so I love the analogy that you made with the fashion shows. And I think now that you've said it, I can't unsee it. Your show apartments are all fashion shows. That's what they are. Um, what do you think you could say is your approach to designing the show apartments? Do you think you can be more, bold with colors and the choice of accessories that you go for, or maybe you should actually be going more neutral to tap onto a higher number of potential buyers? Is it a mix of both? What is your approach for show apartments?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think it's a bit like styling, because I think people understand clothes more. When you say, it's like, when you're going into a shop and there's something really brave, and or there's something completely out there that you're like, I don't know if I could wear this to a, say, a wedding, or then there's something brave, and then there's something classic. You're always gonna do well with classic. It's always gonna be
Yeah.
liked by probably everyone. The middle ground is a bit more kind of fun, and then there's the brave, and I think I've mixed it up between the three in my styles.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, and maybe it's just a gut instinct, when I go into the places, and I know the developer, or I know the style and the budget, and sometimes I look back and I'm like, how was I brave, brave enough to do that? And then other times, like my last one in Foxborough by Hollybrook, was quite neutral and safe. It was like a pretty much, not last minute, but it was booked and they finished early. So I went in and did that really fast. And it's in Portlaoise, which is outside Dublin, say the equivalent of Brighton or, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's more low key. I know Brighton's not low key, but it's more low key. It's more family friendly for people commuting to Dublin. So you know the market. So there's no point in going into, I did another one last year or a few years ago, maybe 3 years now, and I mixed it up. I made it kind of the wallpaper really exciting and I mixed it up. So I did push the limits on my last one there, but this one I decided to keep more classic because the brief was home office, you know, people commuting and people working and living from home. So there's no point to go too crazy because people aren't going to relax, you know, in this family home if you're, you know, it's all like really crazy wallpapers or too dark or too bright. Whereas in past ones, I did an Art Deco Gatsby project, and it was like kind of in Malahide. It was like for people downsizing. It's near the airport. It was for people who travel a lot. You know, the brief was kind of a bit open, so I pushed the limit. And I made the rooms dark and sultry, like kind of a cigar room. And they're really small, but it just went wow. You know, even the closet when you walked in, I wallpapered it. So you know when you go to a bar in London and they have closet like all wallpaper or font. So like that for me was just perfect, and I think it's a gut instinct, and sometimes you're going to get it wrong, I think, but the thing with show homes is as a designer I think you have the flexibility or the trust, which I love, to push your, you know, they trust in what you're going to do, and all of my projects have sold out the, you know, the bundle of apartments or houses. They've always done well, or for private clients always made minimum 10%. So I've been fortunate that it's worked. But I think that's one of my strengths personally. I'm very creative and I'm intuitive on that. But as I said, sometimes people just don't like it, and that's part of anything creative, you know, and people go, wow, this is, you know, when it's really brave, you know, people are going to love it or hate it, but that's normal. Like, that's like Lady Gaga. Do you know what I mean? Like if you Lady Gaga the apartment, you know, you're going to like her old style, particularly. She's gone more classic, you know, it's going to be loved or hated, but people are going to remember it versus, you know, something more classic. So that's really, I suppose, like a personal choice as a designer. But I do think, like, if you want a consistent business, safe is going to sell, you know, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever way you look at it. And it just depends on what way you want to go, what direction as a designer or a stylist.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned something really, really important there. And again, another amazing analogy. Lady Gaga, you might hate her, you might like her, but you always remember her. You always like pay attention to whatever she's doing. She'll always like catch your attention. And I think that should be the case with show apartments as well. That could be the case, obviously, that some people will not like the design. You're obviously preparing it and thinking of the project so it appeals to the highest number of potential buyers possible. But there will be a handful of them that might not really, you know, have chosen that specific color or that specific piece of furniture. But they will remember the apartment, the house that they've seen. And usually when people are looking to buy, they book several viewings in the same day. And by the end of the day, you don't even know which one was which, and everything becomes a blur.
They're tired.
But if you do remember the one Gatsby themed apartment with a funky closet, I mean, that's the one you will not forget. So at the end of the day, mission accomplished, right? Because you made an impression.
As a designer, absolutely. And there's a braveness in that, and I look back and I'm like, oh my god, you know, like, you know, was I brave to do that and stuff like that? But everyone walks in, and it's so funny because you know when people walk in, like, and sometimes it's something as simple as like in the RT home I put in like a mustard chair, and it was like just, I think it was IKEA, and it was just out, and it was like so brave at that time, you know, for that apartment. It was so brave, and everyone's like, I can't believe you did that. Or, you know, I'll put a bar kit in or something and just be edgy instead of having like a family room. Everyone's like, oh, she made it a bit slick, you know, things like that. So it really just depends on, I think it's intuitive. It's like dressing, you know, you go in and you know something is going to be too much, but like if you want to go for it. But you know, and it's the same feeling. It's that feeling when you're going to a party or a wedding or an event, and you just know if you feel nervous, excited, then you know it's too much. It's that kind of feeling, you know, you're like, okay, I need to, you know, tone it down
a little bit.
It's just it's the same for me. That's the same feeling, you know, because people can relate to clothes, and I think design, fashion and interiors are inextricably linked, you know, your style is very much, you know, considered. And I feel like that with my fashion. Sometimes I'm brave. I love colors now, you know, over the last few years more. So I push that into my projects. But everyone,
Yeah.
I think it's just all back to the beginning is you have to be true to you as a
Yeah.
designer. There's no point in doing this and then being sheepish when someone comes into view, because you have to stand by it. There's nothing
Hmm.
worse than someone coming in, you know, for the review on the last day and you're nervous to show someone
Yeah.
your work.
Yeah.
You know, that's not you have to be really confident. You know, you
Yeah.
have to walk around and show the client and be really proud of what you're doing. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
know, that's just, there's nothing worse.
No, you need to own it, right? If you're going to do it, but then own it, because otherwise, what was the point of doing it?
Yeah.
Do you do vacant apartments as well? Not necessarily like show apartments. Do you do like a secondary market apartments as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah.
Just yeah, to do that as well.
Yeah,
And
I've done that.
what do you think is the difference when coming up with a project when it comes to actual dressing a show apartment and addressing a vacant home that's not necessarily a new build? Do you see any difference in the design and the creative process as such?
I feel like in one of them you have to create something and one you have to uncreate or like, you know, completely take away. You know, you have to literally like like dismantle a theme, you know,
Mm-hmm,
which is really
mm-hmm.
hard because a lot of the time, you know, you want to leave some of the furniture, and so a lot of the time it's clearing, and then kind of like trying to neutralize a theme versus actually, I think sometimes it's just too late or it's too hard
Yeah,
to
yeah,
create a new theme from scratch, because otherwise you have to take all the furniture out, which is sometimes possible, but sometimes people just want to mix and match. So a lot of the time I would just
yeah,
clean, and then try to neutralize it. And if you can, like respray the kitchen or like paint a room and make it like brave or add wallpaper. But a lot of the time it's the opposite. You have to nearly
yeah,
like dismantle the theme and make it like, and that's where I think neutral themes stand out. Or if you're fortunate enough that you can bring kind of something to life with it, great. But there's nothing worse than trying to make something, you know, mismatched.
no, no,
I just
yeah,
think keep it simple in that case. So in a way,
yeah,
your team's already decided in that.
yeah,
Whereas you can mix, you know, you could change a hallway color, and you know, I always try to add something in, but naturally you have to keep it simple and
yeah,
straightforward
yeah,
there. Whereas in the show home, you know, all bets are off. You can do whatever you feel, you know,
yeah.
whichever level you want to go to.
The sky's the
Um,
limit.
and that's scary. It's risky. It's, you know, it's, you're like, will
Um,
I gaga this? Will I do it?
I would love to see you coming up with the concept to a show apartment, show home one day. So
Yeah,
whenever you
absolutely.
start working on one, I'll come down to Dublin. You show me,
Yeah,
because
or
it
I'll
must be
be in
it must
London.
be super fun just to
Oh
see
yeah.
how your wheels spin and how you work. It must be really impressive because you are indeed highly creative. Um, Natasha, so you've got the project that we feature in the magazine.
Mhm.
Actually, one of them, I think you mentioned in the beginning, is the Foxborough one.
Yes, Foxborough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, tell me more about it. Is it a recent one, and is it still there? Do you have any information on how well received it was and the design process? Tell me everything you want to share.
Yeah, as I said, it was because we were in and out of lockdowns. Ireland was a lot
Yeah,
longer than the UK. It was, I got the brief kind of a few weeks before. It was quite a short window to get, you know, a
yeah,
lot of beds. You know yourself, the deliveries and things. And outside Dublin's always a little bit trickier. But yeah, my contacts were incredible in Harvey Norman and Usk, and you know, different brands were really brilliant. So yeah, everything went well. It was sold immediately, and then the whole bundle of houses was sold. And I actually think the next phase is sold as well, or
oh my
it's in,
goodness.
you know, mid selling. Yeah, so it did really well. And then I'm gonna do another show home for the next phase, which is getting built in November. So that will be more, and I'm allowed to kind of add wallpaper. I'm allowed to go a bit crazier on this one. So
Oh,
I'm
well,
excited for that.
when they don't actually say that you're allowed to go crazy, you already go a little bit. So now that the brief was actually go crazy,
I know.
I
I'm
can't
like,
wait to
I'm
see
so,
that.
you know, I love wallpaper. I think wallpaper is my favorite thing ever. You know, I just think it can just completely transform, and paint, obviously, you can transform a space
Yeah.
so easily. Yeah, so I think I'm going to, we have to maybe use some of the similar furniture because people like the classic
Mm,
style.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to add some more to that. So yeah, it was really great. I think I just kept to my kind of standard, like suppliers, and everyone was brilliant and had teams bring everything from Dublin or locally. As I said, I like to support local, and I work with some local. I always when I'm on site, it's just maybe a tip of mine that when you always leave a little bit of the budget at the end. So I went into some local suppliers and bought some things at the end. So
nice.
it's fresh, just to make sure that you support them. So just some, like a table or a rug or like some art, different things like that, which the local people love that, and it's just something really important to me, and obviously sustainable design and things like that. So it went really well. Hollybrook are really efficient and brilliant team to work with. Developers and their teams, that their contractors and things like that are brilliant. So it went. I think I designed it in like 3 days or something.
Oh really? Oh
wow. It went really fast, but it was really well organized and things like that. So, and that's another thing, you just become so much faster as you go. You think 100%. Back, I used to stay till 10 at night, or I'd be like polishing things, and obviously cleaners would come in and you've amazing people, but you just so like you letting the rope go and the control for other people to do it. And now I just trust in people, and obviously you have to inspect it and be clever, but generally speaking, it's really important. I think your energy is really important, and your time. And this is an hour and a half outside Dublin as well, so to be mindful of that, that you have to trust other people, you have to let them go, and you trust your teams and trust the people who do things right. But they're intense days, or weeks, or whatever way people work on site. People sometimes do it over a few weeks, but the brief was quite tight. So it went really well, and you can see people. I think I've actually been nominated for a few awards. I've been so busy with things, like so because of it, and it is very classic. So I remember you asked me earlier about classic. Like classic, it does sell, and people do love it. It's very relatable, for everybody. So I've got a lot of great feedback from it, and obviously
it's about knowing the profile. 100%. And if anyone is curious to actually see the project, you can always look into Natasha's social media, but also the HSA magazine. There's loads of pictures there in the description of the project as well, because now you know all about it, but it's all in the magazine, so definitely worth having a look. But I think the classic side of things, as we were saying, it works if that's the target market. So you can if you rely on your research and the state agents as well, advice when it comes to who you're staging that property for, who you're preparing that for, then you can't really go wrong. And then obviously you go creative within those, I'm going to say boundaries, because creativity shouldn't have boundaries, but within that brief, let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And this one was primarily a family home that people can work and study from. So that there have to be lots of desks and things, and that makes things a little in terms of space and things. But I think you just have to, like, as you said, like stick to the brief, and then you can go outside the realms once you do that. And
Natasha, what's next? What's next for Natasha? What's next for NRD Interiors? I know book, candles, but what else?
I think after lockdown, obviously, as you know, everything shut down, so we will have to think outside the box. So I think I want to get more into consultancy and kind of style coaching. I think I'd like to do that, like work with people on how to. I like to work one-on-one or in smaller groups. Ideally to do workshops. I think you're incredible. You do things like that. That would be the goal. But obviously things are a little bit slower here. That would be my goal, to just host workshops. It's very LA, to come and like everyone stand up and hug, and that's very LA. I don't have Ireland's ready for that yet.
But I can totally see it. You would be so great at it. So please do it, and keep me posted, because I want to go.
Exactly. And I'm doing a TV show as well. My friend Declan Cassidy. He's hosting a show, and I'm gonna do be involved in one episode of that. It's just kind of in the pipeline at the moment. So just like, and maybe radio, like move more into media, because everything closed, it was so shut down in Ireland. But just to keep moving forward. And I think for me, there's always kind of a coaching others element, and that's something I'm really interested in. And I know other designers are the opposite. They want to just keep it to their own brand and their own style. I'm a bit like, I want to always bring out the best in other people. So I want to kind of tap into that market. Spread the love. I don't think Ireland is ready for the hugging part, but we can edge them in to the coaching.
That's so funny now, but I think it would be amazing. So you need to keep us posted on that, please. Or
Yeah,
whatever movement you start doing, just let us know. In the meantime, obviously, Natasha, if people want to find out more about you and your work and your studio, where can they go? What should they follow? Where are you most active?
I think Instagram, I'm active on that, and then on my website. And I think, as I said, I'm starting to get back into social media and things like that. But yeah, just online, and then I'm getting more involved in radio and like interactive things, which I usually share. So yeah, just all of the above. But my website probably has the hub of everything.
Yeah, your website is nrdinteriors.com or
Yeah, the interiors NRD.com, exactly.
okay.
Just the interiors first. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the interiors.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Lovely, Natasha. It's been so great. I wish I could do this every week. Maybe when you start your coaching thing, we can have like a coaching session that's weekly or something. Then we can always catch up with one another. That would be lovely.
Absolutely. And I want to interview you. I want to interview you next. I want to take over your site.
Oh, that's so funny, because yeah,
because you're so interesting
people,
and you're doing so many amazing things. And I think we only brushed upon like the magazine, but you're so talented. And like if I'm ever feeling tired, I send you like an email and you're like back within 10 minutes and inspired. And I'm like, wow, she's such a firecracker.
Oh, you're so
amazing.
Sweet.
You're doing you're Dubai, Brazil, London, Dublin, probably everywhere. You're amazing.
Thank you. But I'm inspired by people like you. You guys feed me all of this energy, and I think it's fantastic. All of this exchange that we managed to get from the association, the connections that we get from it. It's amazing. You are one of them that I really do cherish. So thank you so much, Natasha. Thank you for today. Thank you for everything. People have no idea how much chatting you've done on the background, but guys, do follow Natasha. She's absolutely fantastic. Not only the interiors and stage inside, but as a person as well. She's super bright and light and spreading the love, really. So aren't you, Natasha? That's the really true. So guys, do follow her. Natasha, my lovely, we'll stay in touch. If you have any news whatsoever, do let us know, because we are more than happy to always share and support. But in the meantime, I invite everyone to order the magazine and have a read. Yes. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching. And Natasha,
thank you so much to everyone.
Very much. And we'll be in touch very soon. Have a lovely afternoon.
Take care. You too. Bye. And thank you to everyone for watching. Bye bye.